I think Shalom Martha's story is a must read. The book is riveting. It's trust in Hashem coming to life. So I read the book and I started with the last chapter because, that's the good part. And everyone knows the ending. What an amazing moment when on the last day of Hanukkah, right at the end of Hanukkah, he gets released. But what I discovered was something phenomenal that I never knew about. That the worst day of the entire prison sentence, in a way the worst day, was one day before the first of Tavis. He was released on the second of Tavis. The first of Tavis was the worst day. And he describes afterwards, when you read it at great length, how much there was a work done in the legal field. And so many great DAs and lawyers and attorneys and judges who were on his side. And it was clear, airtight case, that there was no way that anyone could deny that he was right. And on the first of Tavis, he says he's davening Hallel. I'm saying Mina Meitzar Korosi Ko, Noni Vamerchav Kois. I'm davening by myself in my cell. I'm saying, Hashem, answer me from the constraints. And the warden comes in and says, Rubashkin, come over. There's a letter for you, official mail. I come out. I go to the mail room. And the guy hands me a piece of mail. United States versus Shalom Rubashkin. Like, what a fair fight. He said, I pick up this mail, and it's very strange to me because every time I've gotten any kind of piece of mail, which was official from the government, every time, it takes a while to go through the prison system, so it takes, 4 days before, I would get a call from the lawyers to anticipate the letter. This is the first time in all the years I didn't get a letter. I open up the letter, 2 lines. It says, appeal denied, motion dismissed, and you're toast. There was a final motion to the 8th Circuit Court, motion 2855, the last possible option in the legal field. And he says, we've been working on this, and most people didn't get to do this. This is that moment that, I was gonna finally get an appeal, and it was crystal clear. And they denied it. That simple line, in other words, was you are going to rot in this prison for another 18 years. We're throwing the key out and you can stay in that cell. And then I realized why my lawyers didn't call me before. Because they knew how devastated I would be. And they anticipated that at this point I would break. He said, and I've seen prisoners go through this horror when they hear this terrible news, this news that everything was lost. Until that point you think to yourself, something maybe, and you're holding on to some hope. And they get devastated and they fall and they need a shrink and they need to go to some psychiatrist and take some medicines, and they just stuck. And there's no way out. And they sit down, they take pills and nothing helps, and they rot in depression because they can scream as loud as they want in those walls. No one is going to hear them. It's done. That's the position that I was in. But my attorneys were wrong. Instead of falling into a depression, he describes, and this is the moment, this is it. He's like, I realized one thing. Until this moment, all the years, in as much as I said I was trusting in Hashem, I still believed that there was a legal option, a legal recourse. Something could happen and I'd be saved in a natural way. And on some level, I was always relying on that something would happen and I would be saved. At this point, there was no more option, b'derech hateva, in a natural way. Instead of falling into depression, he's like, I turned to Hashem and I said, wow, there is no greater space to be in than the space I'm in now, which is absolute, total reliance on God. Hashem, I feel your presence in my life. I feel a euphoria because right now it's just you and me. the most incredible moment. And he says, I anticipated that the Yetzer Hara, the evil incarnation, would come to me at night and would drive me crazy. And I already was ready for him, what to say to him. I was in a space, just me and God. So instead of feeling helpless, I realized I was at this point, for the first time in my life, actually in Hashem's hands. It didn't take 24 hours. And there's a lockdown. And he's like, I washed because I wanted to continue. It's Hanukkah, I wanted to continue the meal into the night. So I should be able to bench and still say Al Anisim after Shkia, after sunset. And the guy comes into my cell. He says, let's go. I said, where are we going? We're going home. And then I realized, well, we're going either to solitary confinement or home. So I quickly ran back, took my tefillin and my talis with me, and my Shara B'tachon, that little book about trust in Hashem. Went over straight into the warden's office, and there, the silence, and they don't know how to, what is going on. And finally they said, Mr. Rubashkin. First time he said I heard the word Mr. in so many years, a mark of respect. The President of the United States has granted you clemency. And there I walked. In a second. The miracle came in a second, and the White House asked that let him out right away. And it's incredible. You listen to the story and you see, wow. It's like Yosef Atzadik was released from prison, and in a second. And the Jews in Egypt ran out, and in a moment of haste, they were just taken out of Mitzrayim. And it's like that one moment, and we all remember that moment. What were you doing when Rubashkin was released from prison? It was a euphoric moment. But here's the key. It only happens when you give it over to Hashem totally. What would have happened had he succeeded in giving it over to Hashem a year or 5 years or 8 years earlier? So long as we think it's us doing it, you're blocking Hashem's power from being revealed. The second he got to that moment of, I give it over to God totally, there's nothing I can do at that moment, that's when the revelation came about. That's the redemption. It's about experiencing Geula, inner redemption by ourselves. Yutas Kislev is coming up. It's the festival of redemption. The Baal Tanya was released from prison. And it's about us being able to feel our own redemption. What's a redemption? Let Hashem control your life. Realize how helpless you are. Feel the helplessness of the situation. Yes, feel it's helpless, it's terrible. And then realize how God's right there with you. And you'll see absolute miracles in your life. Rubashkin type miracles. Those are miracles of our days. And every one of us, when we feel Hashem's presence, we release His miracles into this world.